All right, guys. So we're talking a little bit about food plots, and that's because we've been getting a gajillion questions and comments and messages and everything on what do we do. So I want to answer the very first thing that I want to answer: perennial plot, annual plot. What's the difference in them and pros and cons to both? A perennial plot is a plot that is going to come back year after year. Types of perennials: clover, alfalfa. There's quite a few different things that you can plant. Any of your grasses and things like that, they'll come back year after year. A lot of people plant them. I know I did when I first started, thinking once I plant that, I don't have to do anything to it. Well, that's not necessarily true. What it means is you don't have to replant, but you're going to have to do things such as this clover plot that's behind me to upkeep it, and that is I'm going to mow it. And how do you know when you should mow your clover plot? When you see it start to head like this has, and when I say head, that means that the white tops on all the clover have started to come out. When it blooms like that, it's time to be mowed. Now, one of the things you don't want to do is you don't want to mow it too short. Don't mow it like your yard where you get down like a golf course. Keep it up high. I've got this mower set on like 3.5 inches. I'm just going to go in and hopefully cut off the tops of this plot. And that's all you're looking at doing. But each time that you mow your clover, the root system gets better. So then it starts to choke out. There's a few weeds in here, and you're going to have some weeds. There are some chemicals you can put on stuff, but you got to be extremely careful that you don't kill your entire plot. So the best way to maintain a perennial plot is to mow it and then give it some type of fuel. Again, Antler King makes one called Clover Fuel specifically for clover. It will fuel the clover, but it won't fuel the weeds. An annual plot is something that only grows once a year. It grows, and then when it dies, then you got to redo it. Okay, types of things: radishes, turnips. There's lots of types of vegetable plants that we plant for deer, for wildlife in general, that once it comes to full potential, then it's going to die, and then you got to redo that entire plot. So what do you do with that plot when you plant it in July, let's say, and then it goes through the winter, and then it comes back to May, June, and it starts to grow with weeds and stuff like that? Couple things you can do. One, you could go disc it again and just disc it under, and that will break up everything. Number two, you could spray it and kill it. Number three, you could do something called frost seeding, where you go in and during the winter months you actually put clover or something that you want to put in there that will grow, and that will help keep the weeds down. So there's different ways of maintaining you got to maintain an annual plot just like you do a perennial plot. So it gets somewhat confusing in my opinion. But if you'll look at Antler King is one great one, but there's a whole bunch of them that have it all on the bags, or they have websites that kind of explain it to you, or you can watch stuff like this on YouTube and places like that. So specifically here today though, the difference between annual and perennial: annual is 1 year, that's all you're getting out of it. Perennial is something you're going to get multiple years out of it. All right, so there you go. There's the early June food plot system from Raised Honey.